Okay, so let's talk about a subject that I have been thinking about for a while. I've really wanted to do this episode, but I've been hesitant. So I know there are going to be a lot of emotions around this, a lot of opinions around this, and I'm just going to dive in today and tell you because here's the thing. I want to talk about Ozempic. I get questions around, is it bad? Do you think it's cheating? What do you think of all these celebrities using it? How horrible is it that people are getting this drug and it's in shortage for people who need it? How do you feel about it given that your husband is now diabetic? Does your husband need this drug and can't get it? Will you help me if I'm using it? And that's why I want to talk about this because it is so contentious. There is so much emotion around it. It's in the news all the time. People are getting shamed for it. They're getting accused of using it. Anyone who's lost any weight, the first thing people say is, "Oh my gosh, she's using Ozempic or Wegovy or whatever." And so I want to share a little bit about kind of where I stand on it. And I will say that my position on it has changed over time. So I want to be fair about that. So I'll get into all of those things. First, let's talk about what it is. So people kind of talk about Ozempic in this like catch-all kind of way. So what I mean by that is Ozempic is the brand name for the drug that has been FDA approved for diabetics. The active ingredient, if you will, is semaglutide. So I want to kind of clarify that first up. So because people just say Ozempic to cover the gambit of all the drugs, and that's not actually accurate. It's like saying, Coke with, people will order a Pepsi or a Dr. Pepper, but in some areas of the country, everybody says like, do you want a Coke? And that's not necessarily what they mean in terms of like the name brand Coke, right? The same thing is kind of happening in this world of weight loss medications. Ozempic has been FDA approved for diabetics. If you want to get a weight loss drug, you're not getting Ozempic. Wegovy is the version, if you will, of that drug that's been FDA approved for weight loss. Now, there are a host of other ones that have come out and gotten approved. And I'm not going to go into all the details of like which manufacturer, this, that, and the other. The active ingredient in all of these drugs, the thing that is making the difference is semaglutide, okay? So Ozempic and Wegovy they come in pens, like pre-set pens. You don't have to like give yourself an injection with a needle syringe to take that drug, okay? So diabetics get a pen that is an injectable. You put it against the skin. It has a mechanism that injects, a tiny needle really quickly. So that's how people are doing this at home, okay? Same thing with Wegovy. It comes in a pen that's a mechanism. So let me kind of clarify that first. So for those of you who are like, I don't know anything about any of these drugs, all I know is it's a shot. It's not like going to your doctor and getting an injection, all right? It's a little different mechanism so that it can be done and administered at home. And I will tell you upfront right now, my husband, those of you who follow our story, follow us on social media, listen to me here on the podcast, on YouTube or otherwise, you probably have heard he had a health scare, and I'm going to fast forward. He was diagnosed with a serious health condition, and diabetes is part of the struggle that he has. And he is now on Ozempic, which is FDA approved and has proven to be very effective for people with diabetes. And it has helped us to manage his diabetes. Now, I'll get into some details around that too when I talk about the cost of this, but he is taking a very low dose of that drug, Ozempic, so that it can help with managing his diabetes. He has been able to and I've been very open about this on other episodes, and if you're interested, all you have to do is go back and look at titles of episodes and you can see when we've talked about this. It is in conjunction with managing his nutrition and exercise, it has helped us to make sure that he is in a very normal range for his diabetes. I have other friends who are diabetic who take Ozempic for their diabetes, and it helps them to manage that disease. This is very different than the injectables that are being used for weight loss. It is not different in the sense of what the active ingredient is, but the uses for those drugs are very different. Okay, so I want to kind of clarify that. So there's been a lot of talk about the idea that because people are getting it for weight loss, then diabetics can't get it, and there's a shortage of the medication. Let's back up about a year or so ago when this popped off and the kind of craze became, it became so popular. There were shortages, and there are shortages in the form of Ozempic and Wegovy. If you're listening to this podcast in March, what month is it, Lori? In March of 2024, there are still shortages for those drugs. But that is in the format of the injectable pen. What I want to clarify is you can get semaglutide not in the pen, but the active ingredient is now being compounded in pharmacies, and it's being prescribed through wellness clinics, weight loss clinics. A variety of different doctors are prescribing it. Some plastic surgeons' offices, for example, are prescribing it in that compounded form, which means it's not Ozempic, it's not Wegovy, but semaglutide, the active ingredient, is being compounded in an injectable, and it's being prescribed through these variety of different, weight loss clinics and so on. Like I said, there's no shortage of that drug. I have not heard any news, either anecdotal or on any kind of a news outlet, that there's a shortage that's causing people not to be able to get it for weight loss indications, prescribed for weight loss through wellness clinics and so on. And there are clinics that you can go into in face-to-face kind of format, get those drugs through different wellness clinics, plastic surgeons' offices and whatnot. There are now even online opportunities for you to work through an online format, like a telemed kind of environment, where you can sign up, you'll do a telemed kind of service, and then you can get the compounded form of it. There's no shortage of that drug. Now, those are, and some, let me kind of clarify here. Some weight loss clinics have clients or patients come in and they actually do the injection for the client. Some weight loss clinics and otherwise give you, as the patient, the syringe with the semaglutide in it, with a needle, a syringe, and you do it at home for yourself. So just to be clear about how this kind of all plays out logistically, right? Part of the difference is not only is there not a shortage, but we also hear about how cost prohibitive it is for you to use a weight loss drug. And that is true to some extent, okay? If you're getting Wegovy in the injectable pen, that can be cost prohibitive. Ozempic, for example, is $1,000 a month or in excess of that. And depending on, now, if you're diabetic, some insurance companies will cover that or a portion of the cost. It's not covering for us, for example, very much of it. So I'll share with you very transparently, it is costing us about $1,000 a month for Roger to get a medication that he actually needs for diabetes. It's not about weight loss, but for diabetes, even with insurance coverage, it is between $800 and $1,000 a month, depending on if we've met the copay, if he's, maximized that, what have you. So that is expensive. Again, that's an opinion, right? But to our way of thinking in our lifestyle, $1,000 a month for that diabetes drug is expensive. Wegovy, I don't have personal knowledge and experience with that, but I have heard that it is around the same amount of money for weight loss prescriptions though, right? But about $1,000 a month. That seems expensive to me. But the compounded version of semaglutide, depending on the dosage that you're at, because there are different dosages, that is drastically less expensive. And so, $250 to $500, depending on where you're going and what dosage you are. So at least half or more than half of what the $1,000 a month that we all hear. So that makes it a lot more realistic for many more people to be able to take part in getting that kind of a weight loss drug. Now, some people say, well, you have to be morbidly obese or clinically obese to get even the compounded version from weight loss clinics and or plastic surgeon offices or what have you. That is technically probably the way it's supposed to happen, but anecdotally, I will tell you that I have been told by a number of people that that's not the case, that they were able to obtain semaglutide in a compounded form, that they're paying anywhere from that $150 to $250 range is what I often hear. Sometimes people tell me they're paying as much as $500 a month for it, but they're telling me that they or friends or family members of theirs are able to get the drug and they're not clinically or morbidly obese. And what I've been told, and this is all anecdotal, and I'm just kind of, sharing with you what people have shared with me, that they were told that they don't have to be necessarily obese, that the drug can be prescribed to them as what is called off-label. And so it's really a lot more easily accessible than people say that it is. Again, that's anecdotal, but I just want to share information with you, okay? So they're saying not all clinics, but some, and not all doctors, but some will prescribe it off-label. So if you're struggling to lose weight, if you kind of present with, I'm struggling, I'd really like to lose X pounds, what I'm being told is that it is possible to get it. There's not a shortage, and it is much more affordable, I guess, is the way to put that. So if you're willing to give yourself an injection, and you can find a doctor or a weight loss sort of clinic who will give it to you, you can get it. That is a fact. Many of the people I know and many of the women I talk to in my professional realm of helping women with weight loss tell me that they either have taken it, they are taking it, or they have friends and family who are taking it and they're looking into it themselves. So let's talk a little bit about how does this work? What's actually going on in your system? And I'm not going to get super sciencey on this. And I'm not a doctor. Everybody knows I'm not a physician. I'm a doctor, but not a physician. I'm not a medical doctor. So I'm going to give you kind of the layman's terms, layman's discussion, definition, explanation of how this works. Yes, the drug does suppress your appetite. And it does that, as I understand, by mimicking a hormone that is produced in our bodies and in our digestive system specifically, so that it suppresses your appetite. It also works to slow your digestive process. There's also some research and studies out there and literature that support the fact that it has an effect on brain chemistry. So it's more than, as I understand, just the appetite suppression, but it does work on brain chemistry in a way so that you feel full. And there's some, I'll say, anecdotal reports to me about it also impacting your desire for food, impacting not just your physical hunger that you feel, but impacting that emotional and kind of psychological desire that you have for food. And I've even talked to women who have talked about how that translates, or the other part of that, if you will, has to do with your desire to drink alcohol, for example. And so there's some reports of how brain chemistry is altered to some extent. And you guys, Apologize now if you can hear the dogs. You know, it seems like every time I go to record, I mean, they're on a Zoom call doing a live training, or I'm recording a podcast episode. The dogs decide to do, you know, UFC or whatever they call it, fighting in the background. So hopefully, and the audio is clear enough, you can hear what I'm saying. So bottom line, your digestive process is slowed, you feel fuller, and it interacts with, you know, it's hormone altering. So the cravings that you have and the brain messages that you have around food and fullness are altered. Let's be clear about this though. It is not altering your metabolism, which is a huge part of what I do in working with women, particularly, you know that I work with women over 40. I work with women who are perimenopausal and menopausal for the most part, and I take a metabolic approach to helping women with the struggles that they have. This drug does not, that we know of, alter your metabolism. It is altering your hunger physiologically, potentially emotionally, and psychologically too. But let's kind of take a little bit deeper dive into that, all right? So when your appetite is suppressed and we know that you need, everybody knows, right? You all know that you need to get a certain amount of nutrient value from your food. When your appetite is suppressed, that can make it more complicated to get the nutrition that you need from your food because you just don't feel like eating, right? And you all talk to me all the time about I know that I need to eat more protein. Well, if your appetite is suppressed, protein is a very filling micronutrient. If your appetite is suppressed, you don't want to eat protein. So there is a concern about whether you're getting enough protein in terms of what your body needs, right? The other part of that I will say is, and I'm talking about the women that I work with, the over 40 female. Part of our struggle and part of the complication of this entire situation is that we are naturally losing 3 to 4 or so % of our muscle mass naturally year over year. And we've got to counteract that. Well, if you are unable to, because of your appetite, you're taking this drug and you are not getting enough protein in, you probably were not getting enough protein in before that, you take this drug and then your appetite is suppressed and you're likely not getting enough protein or even less protein in, and then you compound that with the body's natural loss of protein over year, then we've got an issue, right? That's I'm going to put that out there as one of my concerns with it. Another concern is, well, what are the long-term effects of taking this drug? I want to educate you and inform you as best as I can in this episode. I am in no way saying I'm for or against at this point. I'm just trying to put information out there. So the long-term effects, to be quite honest, are unknown. The studies that the research that I have delved into, the research that I've done on the drug, where I can get my hands on, and in talking to physicians, because I will tell you, I've had personal face-to-face conversations with physicians about this to get their perspective on it. What I have also been told by them is we don't know. We simply do not know what the long-term effects are. It has not been studied in longitudinal kinds of studies. It's just there's not been enough time for us to know. So fair, right? But we do know that obesity, being clinically obese, being morbidly obese year after year, definitely has serious health implications, and potential mortality rates are way higher for people who are morbidly obese, clinically obese, overweight. However, you can look up all of those terms. But if you are extremely overweight and or obese, you are at a higher risk of heart disease, you're at a higher risk for all kinds of health implications, even if you consider them lesser. When, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, whatever your idea is of how serious those health concerns are, you compound those year after year. And once we get to, again, the women that I deal with, over 40, over 50, into their 60s, those risks go up drastically. So we know there are health risks, and people die from years of complications with being obese. I don't want to take too much of a tangent and when I say this, but I will also say that we've seen that even expand and explode in terms of mortality rates in the last few years of COVID, because people who are stressed out, people who have already pre-existing kinds of health conditions and who are obese died at a much greater, faster rate than, and did not recover from COVID than people who didn't. So there's a built-in known risk with that. Now, does that outweigh the potential of unknown risks for utilizing this drug? I don't know. That remains to be seen. That is something that you have to decide for yourself, I think. Are you at much more risk, known risk, for being obese than the potential and maybe risk of taking semaglutide? Again, you have to decide those things for yourself. But what I do know, what is fact, is the FDA approvals for these drugs and the research that's being done, and the approvals and research that's being done in different populations of people, those approvals are coming through and being rapidly advanced. There are even now research studies and requests for approval for use of these drugs with children. Okay. And I don't want to get into the politics of that. I don't want to get into the ethics of that. But the fact is that it is being approved at a much faster pace than ever. And we're not going to stop that, because at the root of all of this, there's money. Billions of dollars are being made. And anytime there's a potential to make billions and billions of dollars, we know that fuels the fire, right? So there's no arguing the right or wrong of that. That's happening. That's a fact. So when women ask me whether or not it's a good thing, or if I should do this, or I've heard my girlfriend has done this, my sister, my mother, whoever has done this, and I'm thinking about doing it, what do you think? Or even, and I'm getting this question more and more, will you work with me if I'm taking semaglutide injections? That's why I'm here to say what I am here to say today. Because yes, I absolutely will work with you. And here's why. Put all the judgment aside, and if we look at just the facts, this journey for women over 40, over 50, into their 60s, the perimenopausal woman, the postmenopausal woman, this is not just a physical journey. And you've heard me talk about this before. This is an emotional journey. It's a psychological journey. Those parts of this journey are real. And when women take this drug, it can give them, it's a tool, in my opinion. It's just another tool that can give them that mental, that emotional break, if you will, to focus on the real change that needs to be made. Now, let me pause and take a little bit of a tangent here and talk about what I mean. Oftentimes when I work with women who are struggling to lose weight in this perimenopausal journey, there are other kinds of issues that are at the root of this. It's not only physical, it's not only metabolic, it's not only hormonal. There are emotions. There's a whole mindset of thinking that's wrapped around this. There are ingrained kinds of thoughts that come from how we were raised or our body images. There's just a host of other than physical kinds of complications. And it's really difficult to sort through those when physically you're struggling too. You're hungry. Your hormones are off the charts, and your moods and your brain fog and your sleep is disrupted. All of those physical kinds of disruptions make it much more difficult for you to manage that and do the emotional and psychological work that needs to be done to make a truly sustainable lifestyle change. And so for that reason, if you are taking the drug, and I'm not advocating that you do, but what I'm saying is that I have worked with clients who have been on semaglutide. I'll just tell you that right up front. And it is not my business to out anyone. So I don't share that information about my clients when I'm sharing progress photos. But I have had, it's a small percentage so far, but I have had women who I've worked with who have been on this drug. And what I have seen by and large is that they are freed up, if you will, from that intense physical struggle a little bit more so that they can delve into the emotional side and the psychological side of things. It gives them a little bit of a break to attend to deeper level issues. I hope that is making sense. So if you're using the drug and it's giving you a little bit of that relief so that you can focus on the nutritional kinds of changes that need to be made. If you can learn how to implement those with coaching like I provide you, if you can focus on the metabolic movement that needs to happen so that you can counteract the loss of muscle, and so that you can use that in conjunction with your nutrition changes to get your metabolism working for you again, then more power to you. I am not against anyone using a tool to help them to make sustainable, true transformational kind of change, right? Now, are you getting healthier? That's the real question that you should ask. Do I think that you should use semaglutide and not learn how to eat for your metabolism, not learn how to go through fat loss phases so that your metabolism is much more flexible and working for you rather than against you, particularly at this stage of life? Do I think that you should use this drug and not do any kind of exercise so that you're building muscle and toning your body and changing your physique? No, I don't think that it should be used in that way. But if you're using that drug as a tool to help you as you're transforming your life, I am not at all going to be in judgment of that. And you're damn right I'm going to help you do it. Does it make it easier? Is it somehow cheating? Is it something to be embarrassed of? I'm going to say, no, it's not cheating. I'm going to say, potentially it makes it easier. But what's wrong with that? Like, we spend a lot of time trying to find ways to work smarter and not harder in all aspects of our lives. So why should we shame someone who's also trying to do that in their weight loss journey? In women particularly who have struggled their entire lives with being happy, comfortable, feeling normal in their skin, wanting to interact with food and eat in a normal way. Why should we shame someone for that? I will tell you that if I'd have had this available to me in years past, I probably would have jumped at the chance to use it, and I wouldn't have thought that it was cheating at all. But what I want to impress upon you is it comes down to this. Are you trying to change your lifestyle? Are you getting help to learn to change your lifestyle? Because if you're not, and you're only using the drug to lose weight, and you're not putting in place true change, then you go off that drug and you're going to go right back to the habits that you had before. You will not have changed your metabolism. And yes, the likelihood is that all indications show that, and from experiences and what I've been told by women who have done it, they gain the weight right back. And it's like no other fix that you put in place, all right? So for the woman who's in perimenopause, postmenopausal, who's saying, I'm eating healthy, I am moving, I'm trying to exercise more, and I'm not losing anything. Can this potentially be something that will help you? It may very well be. But don't make the mistake of not putting in place the real change and learning to get your metabolism working for you, so that you fall into the trap of just going right back to where you were and feeling like a failure once again when you gained the weight. Because when you go off the drug, if you don't make true change, you're going to go right back to the same eating habits. Your body is going to be metabolically the same as it ever was, and you're going to gain the weight right back. Weight doesn't just start coming off miraculously and stay off. Can you do it without the drug? Absolutely. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of women who have lost weight, sustained that loss, metabolically changed their body, and gotten so much healthier. You can shift your hormones and change your metabolism naturally. But if there's a help for you to do that, am I against it? No. If you're considering semaglutide, be informed. That is one of my best tips for you, and I urge you, be informed. Do your research. Go to a doctor who you trust, who you can discuss the realities of the potential effects. You can talk about your particular and specific health concerns, and who will answer all of the questions that you have so you can make the best and most informed decision. But also get expert help with changing your lifestyle, eating and moving, so you can truly transform your metabolism, as well as give you the kind of mentorship and coaching with the emotional and psychological components that we need during this transitional phase. The things that have nothing to do with the physical, that are not the food and not the fitness, the emotional, the thinking around this, the sabotaging behaviors, those are the things that are really some of the root issues that you need to have expert help with navigating that journey. So if you're using the drug as a tool, I'm willing to help you. Absolutely, I am willing to help you. And if you want to chat about any of the things that you heard in this episode, if you want to chat about your long-term goals and see if this is a good fit, what I do is a good fit to help you, see the show notes under this episode. I am happy to talk with you about it. You can send me a message. You can send me a direct message on Instagram or Facebook. You can book a call with me for free and we can chat about it. If you are not there yet and you just want to do a reset, you just want a jump start to try to do something to help your metabolism kind of start working a little bit for you and see some quick wins, because maybe you're just of the mindset that like, I've tried everything and I just need to feel some momentum. I need to see a little bit of a quick win. It's not a long-term fix, but I will tell you, I have been doing a 3-day metabolic reset for women who are perimenopausal or postmenopausal. And it really, really helps you in 3 to 5 days. It helps you to see a little bit of weight loss, drop some bloat, feel some energy boost. It's not a long-term plan, but it's absolutely for free. And you can see the show notes if you're listening to this in March of 2024. See the show notes, and there's an active link there that you can get a copy of that complete guide, and you can message me for support while you're doing it. I hope you found this informative. Like I said, I was hesitant to talk about it, but I think it was high time. With the number of discussions that I'm having around this, the number of questions that I'm getting around this, there seems to be this like shadow of secrecy around this topic, and I don't think that it should be. I've also been really disappointed in women who are out there kind of in the industry, if you will, women who are weight loss and wellness proponents who claim to be out there wanting to help. I have been disappointed in the shaming that I have seen go on online. And I just think that it is time for us to be much more open and judge free about this, and not pass any kind of shame or any kind of bad juju around this, to be quite honest with you. Let's just talk about it. Let's openly explore this kind of new landscape of these weight loss drugs. They're not going to stop coming at us. Let's talk about it openly. Let's support each other. And I'm here for you if you want to do that. So thanks for spending time with me this afternoon, and I'll meet you right back here next time.